This episode is brought to you by Audi. The road is calling. Embrace the thrill of the drive with the all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron. Featuring effortless power, serious acceleration, and advanced Audi tech. It's not just a new EV, it's a new way to experience driving. The all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron is here. The next chapter of Audi starts now.
At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to the podcast. I've got a very special guest for you today, Jon Sabes, and he comes from a longevity FP. He's a financial planner by background, helping people with investing, retirement, savings, all of the good stuff that the audience is very familiar with. And he recently wrote a book, Healthy, Wealthy, and Longevity. And today's talk is going to incorporate the concept of longevity with financial resiliency and financial longevity. So I'm really happy to pick his brain and contribute to the discussion. So Jon, welcome.
Thanks, Christopher. Great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. Briefly introduce yourself and your background, and I'm excited to dive into the questions.
Sure. Again, Jon Sabes. I've been working in the financial services industry for coming on almost 3 decades. Really specifically, not so much. I haven't been really doing the financial planning itself. I've been working in the industry at a macro level, in and around. I'm a serial entrepreneur and found myself as a financial, I'll call expert, working in and around the life insurance industry, and then working on biomarkers of health and longevity, and now working with this idea of incorporating notions of longevity into the financial services industry. So we work with financial planners across the country, and we're working on products and projects that incorporate financial planning for longevity, and then talking about how can we support our clients and consumers better on the aging journey.
And which is really interesting, because I've talked to a lot of financial planners on the podcast, and each of them has their unique niche. And this is the first time incorporating longevity. And so what sparked your interest in this? And how do you feel like longevity is an important component of the work that you do in the financial industry?
Yeah, I would say every financial product and service that a consumer purchases is driven by their longevity profile. So what you're going to do for a 30 or 40-year-old is completely different than what you're going to do for a 70 or 80-year-old, right? And so these financial products and services are all driven by the individual's longevity profile. And yet the industry, incredibly, is oblivious to that fact, and they don't have any standardized way of training or speaking to this aspect of longevity. And so it really was incredible to me, and a great opportunity to bring, if you will, a standardized protocol and trainable and repeatable that's embodied in storytelling to allow advisors to connect better with their clients around notions of longevity, which is the subtitle of my book is The Good Things in Life for as Long as Possible. And so as financial planners and financial advisors, our goal would be money serves a purpose. And the purpose is to enjoy life for as long as possible. And you want to enjoy, it's like Goldilocks. You want to enjoy it enough. You want to spend enough. Maybe you want to leave something for your heirs, maybe not so much that you forego your own spend. So it's a very difficult calculus. And the industry has no, again, standardized protocol on which to talk about these things. And because of that, I work with the folks at the Blue Zones. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but the Blue Zones is a company and it's a movement out there started with some fellow Minnesotans around blue zones, which are the 5 places in the world where people were found to live measurably longer and happier. And so what were these people in these blue zones doing? And that became the Blue Zones. And there are Blue Zone project communities throughout America. It's really incredible. There's a Netflix documentary out there. So I've been working with these guys to standardize the storytelling of longevity so that, again, advisors are equipped in a way to engage, work with their clients on the things that they care about.
Interesting. And again, we've had a longevity expert on the podcast, and it's a really burgeoning field, growing field. And apart from, I think, the technology aspect, because you mentioned biomarkers and just you're able to track your sleep and your heart rate. And so besides the technology, basically, what are some effective habits that the audience wouldn't be aware of for living a longer, healthier life?
Yeah. So a couple of things. Longevity is this. I've been in this longevity space for a while. My last company that I had started, the opening kind of line in the prospectus was, we're going to make longevity science to the life insurance industry, right? So that's just should be something they should be doing as an industry. God forbid they keep people alive longer in their own self-financial interest. Nonetheless, where do I want to go with that? So the biomarker era of new biomarkers and longevity is just incredible. I stumbled on a concept called the epigenetic clock and rates of biological aging. I licensed that technology from UCLA by a fellow named Dr. Steve Horvath, who's credited with finding this thing called this epigenetic clock. And in my book, I describe what genetics are, what DNA is. And what I learned is that while we start with our DNA, who we are is not our DNA. DNA is suggested to account for about 20 to 30%. It's our starting point, of course, like our circumstance, but it's hardly where we end up. And so lifestyle drives gene expression, and gene expression is a field of epigenetics. So the epigenetic clock, this is all something I learned about in my entrepreneurial journey, and I describe it, very succinctly in the book. I'd never read a peer-reviewed scientific article in my life, but I knew there had to be better ways of understanding longevity, and I found those through this epigenetic clock and gene expression. And so what we learn, if we understand how genes express themselves, is that lifestyle is the single biggest driver of gene expression. And so what happens is you now can connect scientifically how living a healthier lifestyle leads to better health outcomes. And that was when I learned about that, it was like, oh, God, great. I get it. It just connected the dots for me in a way that they'd never been connected before. And what I talk about in the book is, how does that all work? And so when you ask the question of what are the things we could do to enhance our longevity, it's live a healthier lifestyle. And Blue Zones shows you the way. So again, watch the Netflix documentary. Look at these centenarians and the habits that they do. And they're not that complicated. Eat wisely, move more. And by the way, eat wisely can just be eat cleaner. It's not vegan. I'm not advocating you need to eat just greens. Move more doesn't mean go run a marathon. I've done ultra marathons. I'm a 5X Ironman. Move more means gardening. Move more means walking. Live with purpose. Right? Purpose means your family, your business, your church. These are very open, approachable topics, and connect with others. So those 4 things, if you bring those to your mind, if you hold an active intention to do more of those things, it will lead to a better lifestyle that you will live longer. That is the itch. And here's the most amazing thing: you'll be happier. So you'll not only live longer, but you get to be happier. And that's, again, I think our singular goal that we're all on this journey is just be happy.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
I was never really a runner. The way I see running is a gift, especially when you have stage 4 cancer. I'm Anne. I'm running the Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America. I run for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute to give people like me a chance to thrive in life, even with cancer.
Join Bank of America in helping Ann's cause. Give if you can at BofA.com/support-Ann. What would you like the power to do? References to charitable organizations is not an endorsement by Bank of America Corporation. Copyright 2025.
Yeah, I think ultimately it's quality of life and happiness. And what I'm really interested in these, like they call it the compound effect. I think Darren Hardy talked about it, talking about small, like daily decisions that lead to significant long-term health benefits. Like what would some of those decisions revolve around?
Oh man, you must have read my book. I believe this is it, where you really need to break things down to small actionable items that you can do in your everyday life. And what I call it the longevity factor in my book, because the longevity factor are these universal laws of nature that are at work and behind the scenes, notions of compounding. And here's the thing about compounding. Compounding, as you allude to, happens in every aspect of your life. So you can compound your happiness. You can compound your health. Just as you can compound your bank account. So living, again, eating wisely today, living with a little purpose, connecting with someone. Chris, you and I are connecting today, which has already brought me these elements into my life that are going to compound over time, right? Compounding doesn't happen overnight. It's the longevity factor. It's how do raindrops on top of the Rocky Mountain and snow end up creating the Grand Canyon, right? It's thousands of miles away in time and distance and space, and yet we get the Grand Canyon. So that's what we're trying to do, right? We're putting these little drops in these important aspects of our life that can compound every aspect of your life. So again, eat more plants, drink less alcohol, don't smoke. And I like to say these 20%, it's the 80-20 rule, right? And most people know this 80-20 rule. 20% of the behaviors that we're talking about here are going to drive 80% of your longevity and your overall wellness feel. So get those basics right before we get into sort of the Aura Ring or taking a special supplement or doing this or doing that. I really encourage people to work on the basics.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, the science and the technology has really started to blossom. The other aspect of longevity is mental health, which came into clear focus after COVID. And what strategies can we use to improve it? Why is it such a big issue in today's society when, pre-COVID, people rarely talked about it. Now we're talking about burnout and work-life balance. What can we do to improve it?
Yeah. Coming back to the state of the science, it's a really interesting topic. We've reached a point, two things happened. I write about this in the book. Two things happened, and I saw this firsthand with my company that I was developing, that happened, that we really entered a new era of I'll call precision medicine. And those two things were the development of mass DNA sequencing technology. So the first genome was sequenced in 2003. I hope I got that right, for a cost of $3 billion. Okay, it was the Human Genome Project. Today, a human genome can be sequenced for about the cost of a plane ticket. Okay, so we have mass DNA sequencing technology, which means everyone can get their DNA basically sequenced. The other thing that happened is the emergence of AI machine learning tools. So when you do DNA sequencing, you produce troves of information, like millions and millions of bits of information. And then you need to correlate those bits of information to lifestyle or to being or to heart conditions or a cancer. And so what you need is AI machine learning, because there's no way that a human can do this work. And I saw this. And in fact, we were on the front end of some of this work. We had hired one of the top machine learning experts out of UPenn who ran their machine learning lab. And he's, John, there's this new service out there called Data Robot. We could get it for free. We were doing some of this baseline research. I said, get it, you gotta have it. And we literally saw these data robots go to work to look at epigenetic biomarkers, to correlate them to traditional biomarkers of health and wellness, your heart rate, your blood pressure, all these things. And so mass DNA sequencing machine, low cost, along with low cost accessible machine learning equals a new era of science of health and wellness. And you really want to stay aware of it. I say, what's the best thing? Number one thing people can do for their overall longevity? Stay alive. If you stay alive, like another 5 years, we have no idea what's on the forefront in terms of medicine and health that will be available to you. Just wanted to drop that. Let's come back to wellness and well-being. That's a tough question. A lot of people struggle with that. What I suggest to folks, and I write about this in the book, is that focus on your health. You got to get your health. And by the way, it doesn't matter where you're at. It doesn't matter what age you're in. The body is so resilient. There's so many studies that show you, they take these 70-year-olds who've never done anything and they start walking regularly. They start eating a little bit better diet, and suddenly the body just responds incredibly. So no matter where you're at in your journey, just get those basic things right. And then the other one that I talk about and I connect is that financial prosperity. You got to connect the money. You got to get control over that. And here's the great news. And I'll go back to my blue zones analogy. I call it the golden guidepost, because the people in blue zones are very financially poor by Western standards. Yet they're happy. Here's the good news. Most of us have enough. So we need to get our mindset right. We need to help our clients get their mindset right about what does enough mean and how to engage it. These behaviors don't cost a lot of money to put that phone down, to walk, to garden, to cook, just a little bit will go a real long way.
Yeah. And because I really love this, we're tying it to, because money is an important component because we have to use it to live and put a roof over our heads, get around, eat. And the question is, I think this is perpetuated by our consumer society and mainstream media and all the advertisers, and getting you to think that everybody has to live in the Hamptons or to be happy. When you say, like, how much, in general, and I know it depends on expenses, but in general, how much is enough where you can focus on longevity? Is it $1 million? Is it 10 million? Is it 500,000? Is it just being happy? Talk about that.
Yeah, first of all, just like they say it's expensive to be poor, it's expensive to be unhealthy. Okay, really, the expense that drives into your budgetary. So I'm just going to come back to health. When we think about money, at the same time, I hate these happiness books. They talk about happiness and this and that, but they don't talk about money. They talk about getting a career that you like. Duh, but why do I have a career in the first place? It's to earn money. No one can focus on their well-being if they're about to be evicted from their home, back on their mortgage, can't afford growth like this. So getting comfortable and getting in control of your financial situation, wherever it is day one. They say a lot of well-being is driven by our sense of control. We don't want to be out of control. And here's the good news. If you live in this country and you're listening to this, you've already won. This is the ovarian lottery by Warren Buffett. To be alive right now, to be born in this country, you've won in all of human history. And more likely than not, you have enough. And so we just need to recalibrate what your expectation is, get your mind right around that. It's not a comparison game, but what's the saying? Comparison is the thief of all joy. This is about your journey and what's right for you. So while I do cite there is a research on this, the magic number, but the reality is the magic number is the one that's right for you. And if you focus on your relationships, if you focus on connecting, if you eat a little healthier, if you move a little bit more, and you gain some financial literacy over your personal financial situation, you're gonna get yourself in a better place. That's the right number. That's the right number. Get to that number, and that's it. And here's one last thing. Blue Zones is great about this idea of shape your environment to make these behaviors easier for yourself. It's hard to have a healthier diet if your cupboard is chock full of salty snacks and sugary candy bars and freezers full of ice cream. Just get rid of that shit. Get it out of your house, okay? And you restock that pantry in a healthier way, okay? Just do those things. Take that stack of papers, old bills or whatever, set aside some time, go through them, do a little spreadsheet, get control over this, create your environment to support a healthier, wealthier, balanced life. That's a really important lesson that we often overlook.
Yeah. And I really love this idea because blue zones, and do people listening to this, do they need to move to if they want to create this life that you're describing, do they need to move to a blue zone, or they can create it here or anywhere? Is it's more of just a habit and a way of thinking and a way of living?
Yeah, I think no, blue zones, like Dan Buettner, he likes to talk about move to blue zone. And there are, by the way, if you're considering moving, okay, there are places, whether geographically different states or cities, that are clearly more conducive to well-being. However, most of us, myself included, are highly limited in our ability to live in different locations, geographically speaking, because my wife has said, we're going to live near our kids, and that's where you're going to live. So that said, you can blue zone up by your life. And that's what I'm encouraging people to do, which is how to think really much smaller around your own life. And if you're going to change apartments or condos, well, get one that has bigger windows. Choose a street that's a little quieter. If those are possible. If you're not even possible, then again, organize your pantry to have healthier items in it. Clean your closet, declutter your life. Okay, these are all techniques that I believe will blue zone up by your life. So I like to say, create your own personal blue zone space.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I really enjoyed this discussion, and it goes beyond the topic of money. And really what's important is being able to live and make choices and decisions. And if people wanted to check out the book and contact you, connect with you, follow you, learn more from you, how can they do that?
Yeah, books available on Amazon, Healthy, Wealthy, Longevity, The Good Things in Life for as Long as Possible. I'm on Instagram at Jon Sabes, JonSabes, or my website, sabes.com. So really appreciate the conversation and hope people liked it too.
Yeah, I think they'll really enjoy this. And longevity is really an important topic, financial independence. And thanks so much for coming on, and keep up the great work.
Thanks, Chris.